Hello there and welcome to the No Script Show. Last time we talked about the show's growing website and how to manage it. We had two basic routes we could go, either static or dynamic. As an experiment for this show, we decided to try a static approach using Eleventy, which is a JavaScript-based static site generator. This, of course, is alien to two long-term WordPress users, but David has been exploring, and here he's going to share what he's learned so far. As this is visual, we're only putting it out on YouTube. Relevant links will be in the description, including the code in a GitHub repository. We're also splitting this recording in two. In this first episode, we're looking at building an Eleventy project from scratch. And in the second, we're looking at some starter sites and how an Eleventy site could serve as a static front end to a WordPress CMS. So there we go. That's the introduction. How are you doing, David? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very well. I'm quite nervous about this because, in a way, this first bit is looking at kind of dev's perspective of Eleventy. And all told, I've known it for maybe a couple of months, but really, I was thinking about this. It's maybe no more than 80 hours I've put into this.
Okay.
So there's my limit. So apologies if I've got stuff wrong, but hopefully I've run through this before.
Well, I would say if you execute and you get what you want at the end, you haven't done it wrong, but there's always interesting other ways to refine it, isn't there? And no doubt you'll learn those over time. So forgive yourself.
Okay. Shall we put up the screen? Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
This is what we're going to do. So this was a little demo that we made before as a static site. And what I'm going to do here is kind of recreate this. So this was only 5 pages or something on this sort of demo that we did here. And what we might want to do is to have more pages. And for that, it might be useful to have a sort of standard header and a footer place. So if we wanted to change it, rather than have to go into each of the pages, we can do it from one central location. And as we know, in fact, I did it on the last episode. When you're doing things manually, you put stuff in the head, particularly something like the open graph images.
Right.
You spotted last time that I hadn't updated that one because it hadn't. So we can do all this kind of stuff and automate it with Eleventy. So that's what we're going to try it and do here. I've already done it once, and the code's there. So,
well, I'm going to express right at the beginning that I have spent no hours with Eleventy. So, I trump your 80 hours with no hours. So if I ask some dumb questions, bear with me.
Yeah, I want you to.
Okay.
I need someone to make sure that I'm making this clear. So the first thing that we're going to need, so I've got some tabs up here, is if we're going to run Eleventy, it's JavaScript based. We need to run Node.js. So we'll need to download this onto our computer, and it's just pretty straightforward. It's just like any other program that you would run. And we're going to need, obviously, a code editor, and the most popular, and the one I'm using, is Visual Studio Code. And we need a terminal because we're working with command line, but that's included in VS Code. So that's what I'm going to use for this. And if we're going to put this live through some free hosting like Netlify or GitHub Pages or something, then what is quite handy to have is to have GitHub Desktop, so we can kind of easily connect this thing up to your GitHub repository. So you probably want a repository. So that's the one for the demo that we had here set up. And then obviously some hosting, and I'm using Netlify in this case. So I'm connecting these all up. So once what we build locally, then I can send it off. It'll go to GitHub repository. From there, Netlify will pick it up and then make any changes live. But
can I just ask, just to clarify that then? So you've downloaded all of these things, the downloadable things you've downloaded onto your computer. So you've got Node.js, you've got VS Code, and then you've bound VS Code to a GitHub repository. And then in turn, that GitHub repository is bound to some hosting, in this case, a Netlify. I imagine it's the free tier because of the type of thing we're doing. It will be probably close to free. Yeah. And so the Netlify structure, if for want of a better word, will keep looking at GitHub and any changes. And then when there is a change, it will go from GitHub up to Netlify and be live on the internet.
Exactly. Through GitHub Desktop, it's very easy then to send it up to your repository. And then it's very easy actually with something like this to just connect it to that particular repository when you create a new site. So it's all quite smooth. I mean, of course, to me, started this when you're used to a WordPress UI. But anyway, so that's that. So what I'm going to do now is, and this is where it will go horribly wrong. So I'm going to try and bring in my code editor, and we need this screen over here.
Okay, that's all worked perfectly. Yeah, you've got the website on the right, and then we've got your code editor on the left. Perfect.
Yes, and I'm just going to bring this out a little bit. We'll need this because we want to see some of the changes that we're making in our browser. So what I'm going to do first, as it's a new project, and we haven't got the space, so VS Code looks a little bit different. I have to go.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. But what we'll do is we'll go into File and we'll open up, once I get there, a new folder. And I'm going to go over to my desktop and I'm going to create new. Can you see this? Okay.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can see all that. Yeah.
So we'll call this Bistro Eleventy and create that. And then I'm going to select that folder. So in VS Code, we're in there already. So we're in our blank. And then the first thing we're going to need to do, which we'll need for all of this, is the Eleventy documentation is a good way to get started and to check anything. So the first thing we're going to do, so we've already done this. It shows it through command line, but we've created our directory there. And then we need to create a package JSON file. So this is all related to Node. So what we'll need to do, as I said, we have a terminal over here.
Okay.
Now, for the rest of this, I'll just use the short key, which is just Control and a backspace on this. And let me just paste that in. So what this is doing, this is saying npm initialize with yes, so to just do the default. And then this will create us a file called package.json. So that's the first thing we need to do. And I do need to make a change here because it's written here. Since the end of last year, we are on version 3 of Eleventy. And what that's done is that it's using newer JavaScript. So it's using ESM on this rather than common JavaScript. So I'm just going to make a quick change on this and put in here module, which has already come up.
Oh, that's interesting. So, okay, that's good to know. All right.
Yeah, there's some instructions over here, but the first thing I did is made that mistake over here. And I'm just going to do one other thing, which I don't think you actually need to do, but I did have an issue because this should come in. I'm just going to put in here that there is a dependency on Eleventy version 3. So I'm just going to, put in that and save this. So that's all we need to do there. So we can move to the next bit, which is install Eleventy. So again, we're running the Node Package Manager install Eleventy, and we have to write it out like this, which is a bit of a pain on there, but I can just go in there and do that. And it's going to take some time now because it's going to load up all of the Node packages that are needed for Eleventy project. So it takes a little bit of time in doing that. While I'm doing that, because this is the command that we need to run every time on this one. Oh, it's done it already. So we've added 188 packages on here, no vulnerabilities. We're ready to go. We've installed Eleventy over here.
Nice.
Okay, I'm just going to do one other thing here, which is a lot of people will do. So if you're using a starter site, which we'll talk about next time, you can, if I just find on my other screen here, we can just put in where it says script up here. We can just get rid of this. And I'm just going to paste this in, which means that instead of having to write out every time we want to run Eleventy, all of this, we can just say start and it will run Eleventy and it will serve as well, which isn't mentioned over here. But I've actually got a little shortcode in here. So what I'll do is I'm going to do S11 and it will write this. So what this is going to do now is that it's going to run Eleventy and it's also going to serve a kind of, a server. And we'll see this in a minute. So we'll see this open up. And there we are. We have our server. So I'm just going to open this up. Okay, so what we can see, hopefully you can see this, Nathan.
I can, yeah. It says cannot get.
Yes, of course, because we've got nothing here for it to get at the moment. So what we're going to do first is we'll open up a new file and we'll call this index because we will show there, and we'll use Markdown. So we'll put MD.
So just to be clear, you're writing a index.md file, and this is going inside of the Bistro Eleventy file, which is on your desktop.
Yeah,
Got it.
exactly.
Okay. Got it.
Yep. So this is empty now, apart from my node stuff that I put up, but this is the only thing I've put in. Now, what you'll notice, so this is quite important, that this is cannot get has disappeared now. And what you'll see over here is that it's opened up, and this is a default of Eleventy, this underscore site. And if we open that up, what we'll see is it's instantly done a conversion from what I've put in my root directory of Markdown into HTML. But of course, we've got no HTML, so let's put some in. So I've got, again, a quick shortcut to giving us some lorem stuff here. And as you can see straight away, I think I've just put that in the wrong one, have I? Right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. What I needed to do is to put it in there.
You put it in the index file, not inside.
Yes, exactly. And let's close this up because this is really where all our static stuff is going. So this area now is the dynamic Eleventy stuff, and it will convert that all into the static stuff in the site there. But we've still got it there. So that's the first thing we've done, and that's pretty cool in itself, in the sense that it's able to turn all of this Markdown into HTML. But of course, what we want to do is to kind of recreate this. So really what we want to do is to put in a header and a footer for this, for our content, which we've got over here. So we'll do that next. And what we do for that, again, this is using a default. What I should say about all of this is that we can actually change any of this. We can configure it. We don't have to stick with side. We can call this something else if we prefer. But I'm just going with some of the defaults.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense at the outset, doesn't it? Otherwise, it becomes confusing.
It does. So if we create a folder called underscore includes.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm starting to figure out what you're doing here. Okay.
Okay. And in that, what I'm going to do in there, I'm going to add in another file, which I'm going to call basic. Let me just go back on something here to explain. So that process of changing the Markdown into HTML was using a preset here, a templating language called Liquid. And one of the most important things, and I was looking for it actually when we talked last time about it. I'll just quickly go back on this. And if I go back to the home page on this Eleventy site, just so I can quickly explain it, I found it this time. What we'll see about Eleventy is that it has, when I can find them, oh yeah, there we are, listed. So it has lots of different templating languages that it uses. So Liquid is a default, which will be working to turn that, and we could use this all the way through. A lot of people are using Nunjucks as a way because it can do more, I think, with JavaScript, something I don't fully understand, but I'm going to use Nunjucks in this case as my templating language. But there are other alternatives, ones I don't understand, handlebars, Mustad, and all this. So there's lots of different routes you can go with this, but I'm going for the most commonly used. So let's go back to what I was talking about now. So back into our includes, I'm going to add it in a new file. And in this case, I'm going to use Nunjucks, which, so let me call this base. And that one is NJK on that. And let's go back to this. So obviously nothing's changed here. And what I can do here is I can put my HTML in here for my header and the footer and miss out all the stuff that was in the main section. So
okay, so in the index.md file. Okay, yep.
Let me just go and copy and paste this because I've done it already to say.
Yeah, we don't need to watch you typing it all out. Okay.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do here, and I'm just saving as we're going along, Control save. And what we'll see over here is this is what we had on our original template here. But when it comes to the main section, somewhere down here, you'll see I've stripped it out. So it hasn't got the content from here from the
Yep.
navigation down
Yep.
to the footer. And what we're going to do is to link these two together. So it's pretty easy to do. And we use the Nunjucks language, which actually is very similar to Liquid as well. And what we'll do here, this is 2 sets of curly braces here. And then I type in content. And just to make sure that we're escaping things properly, I put a pipe and then save. And I save that. Now this gives us a place to put in our content and any of the content that we've created here. Does that make sense so far?
So far, so good. Yeah, I'm understanding. So you've got a base.njk Nunjucks file, which in some way in a minute, I guess you're going to make wrap around the content in this case, index.md.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. So how do we get this content that we've got on our pages, Markdown in this case, into that content area that we've put in our template? And this is a key concept here to pretty much, I think, all of the static site generators, as I understand it, is that they use something called Front Matter. And you put this in the top, and it's really similar in a way to working with WordPress, where you will have these kind of custom fields to put in all of the stuff that needs to go onto your pages in your header or wherever you're putting this kind of stuff. So what we do for that, and it's pretty much standard across the board, is that we have 3 dashes there, followed by another 3 dashes, and anything that we put in the middle here is called Front Matter.
Okay.
And it uses by default a language called YAML.
Yep. Yep.
Although Eleventy, again, because it allows you different things, you can actually use different. It has a term called gray matter because you can put JavaScript and other things in here. But generally, as a standard, YAML, which stands for, well, initially stood for yet another markup language.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It has because it isn't that, so it has a now backronym really, which is YAML 8 markup language. It's really more like JSON. It's a way of presenting your data. So what we could do here is to connect this up. We have something which we can just put in. So this is just the standard. We put in layout, and we just put in here. Now, because Eleventy already knows about the includes folder, we don't need to reference that because it already knows to look in there. So all we need to do here is to put base NJK on there. And if I save this, we should see, there we are.
Oh,
Magic
yeah,
has happened there. And the footer has gone in here. Now, a bit of a tip, something to say on this, because this YAML is like JSON, and if you're familiar with JSON, it uses curly braces to section out your different bits of data. This uses spaces instead. So we need to make sure that this is flush up against something else, or if something's part of something else, there is one space underneath it. So first mistake I made was putting a space in the wrong place and things weren't working. So it's very space aware when we're using YAML there. Okay, so that's the first bit. Well done. Any questions so far?
No, that all makes sense. So I'll just pause it again. So you have the index.md file, which is getting turned into an index.html file inside of this underscore site folder. That's all happening by Eleventy. And then inside this base.njk file, you've copy and pasted a header and a footer. And then in the main section, and I can't remember what you wrote there, but you put in some code in order to say, here's the content.
Yes.
And then in order to make that happen, you've had to go up to the top of your index.md file and declare, okay, we're using the base as base.njk as the sort of wrapper layer, if you like.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
What we'll do next, because this looks pretty ugly as it is, I've got to bring in the assets that I had on the original site. Right. Now, the reason why I copied and pasted the HTML for my base there was because I had to rejig it because I put everything, including all the assets, in the root folder, where now I've separated this out, and you'll probably see why that is, into a underscore public file. So I'm just going to copy and paste this in to here. So we've got in our root directory, everything's now included in here. And nothing's going to happen at the moment because it doesn't know. It only knows to convert. Eleventy only knows how to convert those kind of Markdown files and HTML that we put in there. It doesn't know what to do with these. So we'll actually need a config file to be able to move all of this to go in the site folder where it needs to be there. But before we do that, I just wanted to, we'll bring in the CSS first because it was a nice little cool trick that you can do with this. So if we go back, I'm just going to get rid of some of these things here. You go back here, and if you saw our episode, you'll know that I like to use Cube CSS to break down my CSS. So I pull in all the individual style sheets to go with that. So we have a reset, a global, and then we have all of these. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of all of this.
Ooh.
And I'm going to, if I can remember this correctly, I think I called this bundle. So because I bundled them all together, and this is a cool thing. Now, hopefully, yay!
Yeah.
Now, one thing I've noticed, I picked the wrong theme here because it's got this light and dark thing switcher. So it keeps switching from light to dark. But as you can see, my CSS has come in.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
And I haven't configured it. So let me just explain.
I was just to say, can I just quickly ask, where is bundle.css? Where does that live?
It's here. I hid it away for the moment. So in my CSS, I've got it here. And I'm using Nunjucks again as a templating language to pull it all together. So what I can do is in my front matter for this Nunjucks, I can say my permalink is this bundle CSS. And again, using Nunjucks language on this one, we can include all of these. So,
so the ones that you just deleted, you've just basically reinstated. And now they all live in this central bundle.njk file so that you can access that and change it globally really easily. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's really cool. So now on the outside, I've only got this one, so we're only loading the one. And in fact, it's pretty easy. I'm not going to do it in this case, but it's pretty easy through the config file to minify all of these as well. So they can go out.
Right.
You can keep them as they are and minify them. But okay, so that's it. So we brought in this, but we haven't got our other assets like our fonts and our images and stuff over here. So I think what I'm going to do, just so it starts to look a bit more like the site, what I'm going to do is I will change this to, I'm going to rename this to an about page. And we'll see it's not affected anything because this is probably one key thing to know. If I go to the about, now I have it. If I go to the home, I still have it. And it's something.
So copying it has created two. So there's an index and an about now.
Yes, until I override it. And this is something to watch out for. I mean, at any point, I could just delete this whole site. And then if I start up Eleventy again, it will rebuild it. But of course, until I override it, it still remains with what I have. So you have to check this folder every so often, because if you keep, as I do, saying, oh, I'll have this, I'll have this, and I'll have this, it's just going to create them automatically because it's watching. So until I bring in, and in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file in the base for my index. And I'll just have this as a regular, index, I want to say, index dot HTML. And what I'll do, if you just give me a second here, I will just bring in the code here that I needed for that and pop that in there. And hopefully this should override this. Let's just save. And yes, so we've got the content, but we still haven't brought in the images because we haven't had this pass through. So we need one more file, which is quite a key one. People put a lot of stuff in this, which is the Eleventy config JS file. So I'm just going to paste this in here. And as you can see here, what I'm doing here is I'm using this bit, which is there in the documentation, to say, okay, I want you to basically copy everything that's in the public folder over here. So if I save this, I don't think this will work at the moment because this is a config change. So what I'll need to do is I'll just need to restart it again. So I'm just going to do my command again.
That's an interesting thing. Okay, that would confound me, I'm sure. So you've had to restart Eleventy basically, and in that process, it discovers things that it previously didn't know existed. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so if it's something like this, something with the JavaScript that you're changing, you probably need to run it again, and it will just rebuild. So hopefully now we see that we've got our site there, and we've still got our about page because the index has been overwritten by the stuff I put there. If I didn't put another index file in there, of course, it would just sit in there until I deleted what's in my site folder. So, okay, so where are we up to now? Now, there are some things, of course, which are wrong about this because as we keep adding these pages, it looks fine, but we've got stuff in the head which we need to fix up. So we'll do some of that. And this is by connecting up. Let's just go into let's get rid of what we don't need. We do need the base here. And what we'll do is we have some things which we'll want to change on a page-by-page basis, like the title, which is in the head.
Oh, yeah, that was hard-coded. Yeah, I see. Okay, so that needs to become a variable of some kind, yeah.
Yeah, so what we could do, again, we've got Nunjucks here, so we're using these double curly braces. And what I can do is to put in here title. And I'll need to do the same for some other things which come along with this. Let's just have a look. Description. That's something which, we'll want to do as well on this. I wish I was quicker at typing. But
no, it's okay. No, it gives us a time to pause and parse it all. I'm guessing you're going to type description in there.
Yeah, I'll just copy
that. That's quickness. Yeah.
And I'll just take this from somewhere else because I can't remember what I called I need to make sure I've got the right URL. There is another thing. So canonical here, then we don't want it all to be the same page, else Google's not going to like us. It's going to say it doesn't match what it is on here. So I'm just going to find that. 1 minute.
That's all right. I'm going to guess it's for, curly braces with the URL in the middle, but I could be wrong.
Well, you're pretty close.
Oh, okay.
It is. Let's just take the whole thing out and pop that in. So I'm putting I know the site.
Oh, okay. So it's / the bit at the end only appends the path at the end. Got it. Okay.
Exactly. So page URL is one of the standard things that will come in. So it will recognize which page it's on and it will change all of that.
And it will put a / in there as well, I'm guessing. So it's here24.co /
That's a good question. I think, should I add my /?
You'll find out in a minute.
Yeah. Let's leave it as it is.
Yeah, let's see. I'm guessing it'll break, but I could be wrong.
Well, in fact, we can see it now. Let's go into our about page where we can see it better. Let's just go into the code. I think I have just stuffed up there. Let's have a look at our source code for this.
No, it's got it. No, it's right. No, you've had it right. Yeah. I'm wrong. Yeah, interesting. Okay. It knows.
It knows.
Clever Eleventy.
Yeah.
I wonder if you put a / in, if it'll do your double /. I wonder if it's, if there's some intelligence. Go on, just to humor me.
Yeah, I don't know myself. So let's just go back and, there we go. Who is at this problem? Get into source code when well, let's pull this out a bit. It'll allow me to do that then.
There you go. View source.
We've got double.
Yeah, so it definitely doesn't want to be there. Get rid of that /. Okay, that's
I must have gone through this before.
No, you must have done it. Yeah, you did it right. You did it right.
Yeah. So there must be a reason why I knew this.
Yeah,
but as I say, not many hours on this. So it's okay. So we're getting there. We've put that in. And there are a couple of other things I'll just quickly do. Now, I need to make sure that I've mentioned stuff on here. You can kind of chain as we are. When I put the content, say, for my main area, we can kind of chain. It's called chaining the content along. So we could have different, if you like, different sections. So if we had a blog post or something, which had an authors section, which was permanent for other posts, we could chain that stuff. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break this up a little bit further. And so I can introduce the concept of partials here. So a big thing that typically I'll want to do is when you get big chunks of code, it gets really difficult to manage. So let's add a really complex slider in here. I might want to put something in the home page here.
Yeah.
Even here, there's quite a lot of code. in the head area, because there's a top bar which actually has a lot more than you can see here at this dimension on there. So it's quite difficult to sort that out. So we can do something called partials. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to, in my includes folder, I'm going to put in another folder, and I'll call this partials. And in that, I'm going to put in another file. Let me just see what I'm going to do. Okay, I'll take the top bar on this one. So what I'm going to do is to put in top bar. And for this, we only need HTML to be included in this. So that's what I'll do, HTML. And what I'll do is I'll go into my base here, and I just need to adjust this here so we can see a bit better. Now, where is my top bar? That's the SEO start. So we're not there. There's my top bar.
There it is. So you're going to take this out of here and put it into this includes,
exactly.
Well, partials file, right?
Yes, exactly. So I'm just going to copy and paste this out, and we'll put it into the top.
So you've cut and paste that out. It's no longer in what was. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Exactly. Although I haven't done it very well because it's not pasting. So let me just try it. And
oh no, it's gone.
I'll do that again. Live coding, never do it. Okay, we'll cut this time and make sure I've got it right. And then, okay,
yeah.
We'll save this. And if I save this, we should see, it's disappeared from the top there. And it's also
right, as expected.
Yes.
So now you need to reference that somewhere to make it appear again, I guess.
I do. And I'll just, it's something we're familiar with. We used it on the CSS, but I've just got it here just so I can quickly copy and paste it. So we are using, again, these curly braces.
Oh, another includes, right, yeah.
Yeah, and includes, and then it knows to look into the partials top bar. And when I save this,
here it is. Hey.
So it's a nice way of chunking up the information. And I think probably where I'll use something like this most is when I've got a really complex homepage where I've got slider stuff. And I'll say, okay,
you'll do a partial slider. The slider will be
so I'll
out, yeah.
Exactly. But of course, in order to do that, because this is using the Nunjucks stuff. So if I was doing that on the homepage, then I need to make my index a Nunjucks file as well, so it would understand it. So I'm not going to do that anyway. It's just to explain.
Well, what's nice about that is you could carry that that, let's say, slider. Let's say that's what you did. That could then be ported over to another project, and you just drop it into the include file, and you've got yourself the bare bones of a slider to build up for the next project. You sort of hived it out. You'd have to go searching for it in amongst all the HTML there. That's nice.
Yeah. So I this is really why it's useful. I mean, most of the projects I do wouldn't necessarily need any kind of platform, but it really does help, to be able to sort of break these things up. There are a couple of things though that I just want to do here, and it's related to one thing I haven't done, and I wouldn't necessarily need to do this if I was doing my templating and chaining in a different way, but I've actually put some. If we go over to have a look. So I have a body class on this of home, which I set.
Yeah.
So because it was, and I did some styling against it. And of course, this is going to carry through to all the other pages that I create here.
Oh, so you want that to be the title or something like that?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is actually, that would have been a nice way of doing it. But what I'll do is I'll just hard code it in. Yeah.
Okay.
Use the title. That would have worked just as well. Good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put in, and I've got it ready here because I did it earlier. I'm just going to put in body class there. And actually, I want to do the same with the main.
So then you get to set body class somewhere else, and again, that's in another file. So right.
Well, I could put it in my Front Matter.
Okay.
So I could do it on a page-by-page basis.
Right.
So I'm just going to do the same here, and put this in. Now, actually, I don't know if we'll see it. I've got flow running on this, which is something which spaces out things. Let's see what happens when I change this to main class and save it. You didn't mention it did squeeze.
It's something very slightly moved up, didn't it? But it was
yeah,
it
did. So what I'm going to do here is to just go back to our Front Matter. So let's go actually with our about page here first, and I can paste these in. I haven't put any of the other stuff in here, which I should have done. So my title needs to go in here to say that this was the about. And in fact, if I just save that quickly, oh no, it's going to break it. Oh no, it won't. So we should see, yes, it's saying about there. So anything I write.
Oh, so if you've got a body class which is undeclared there, it doesn't affect anything. It just, well, I presume it'll have a body class of just blank.
Yeah, so that exactly. So what I need to do is body class, I'll just put the about in here.
Yep.
We saw it working on the title and description in. And here, I'm just going to return the flow that we had.
Yep.
And actually, I'm going to do something else, because if we pull this out, we'll notice here that this is not exactly how I'd want this page to be laid out. And when we made this, I used something with named grid areas. So there was a way of being able to, if you like, make certain parts of your page full widths, certain bits go into a sort of pop out size, and then have a standard. So that CSS is in there. So what I'm going to do is, along with the flow, I'm going to put in, if I can remember it, I think it was called, on this one, because I changed the name, I think it was called page layout, I think.
We will find out.
We will when I save. And oh yes, we can see it's already kicked in. So there we are. So I'm able to center this stuff up, which is probably what I want most of the time on there. So that's great. And as you can see here, this has gone out a line because I did put some code in to bring this text over to where this was.
We're going to forgive you, David. I think it's fine.
It's fine. Let's go over to our index here. And actually, let me just speed things up a little bit. Let me just go and grab this. Go back to our index HTML. And on the top here, I think I already put in, before I copied it. Yes, I called it your home page, and I put some in, but I didn't put in my classes. So what I'm going to do is to change this one to home, which should have been. So let's just, and on this one, there was only flow in the main body. And if I save this, hopefully we should see my text is back.
Yes, nice.
Yay.
Nice. So you've got real sort of granular control of all the bits and pieces. So, and obviously, you know, you're a work in progress. There are probably different ways that you can do this. You'll imagine in the future, which will optimize what it is you're trying to do. But I can see, I get it. I can see what you're doing. It makes perfect sense.
That's great. And it doesn't take long. And this is pretty much all that I'm going to need. Let me throw in a few other concepts while we're here, shall I? Okay. How we do for time?
Yeah, we're 40 minutes. I think we can squeeze another 5, maybe.
Gosh, I got a lot to show you. I wonder if I should.
Oh no! All right then, let's go for another 10. Whatever you say.
Okay, let's do something. Yeah. Now there's something that I didn't do, which I ought to have done on mine. Let's get rid of some of these because we've got too many of these things over the top here, which I want to get out of the way. Let's go back to our base here. So something I ideally should have done, I did on the first demo we did, is let's just have a look down here. There we are. For our navigation, there's nothing here that tells somebody on a screen reader which is the current page that they're on. So we can turn this into something dynamic as well by saying, you know, we want ARIA current page on this one. Okay. So it'll allow me, and I'm going to do this with using another concept in Eleventy, which is using data, because we can pull in whatever data we want. So what I'm going to do, again, just to speed this up a bit, I'm going to pull in what's already there. Now, I owe thanks to Andy Bell for what I'm going to use here, because he's the one who came up with the code. I've got no skills when it comes to JavaScript. But in this data file, I have this navigation JSON here, which has got my items for my menu over here. Okay. Now, this could be with data. I mean, how other people using it for clever stuff, you could put in whatever data you like. So it's kind of like where you put your database in WordPress terms.
Yeah.
So you could put any files in there and then output them wherever you want, and use external as well. You know, so some people with Eleventy have it so their builds are rerun if it's pulling in some external data to update automatically. But we're not going to do anything that clever. And I have this helper JS, which comes from, and it's worth looking at. It's really out of date, and I had to do some changes to bring it up to date. But Andy Bell had a course going back some years ago where I took this here And basically, it's a bit of JavaScript, which sort of says ARIA current page, and you also puts in the data state of active against the URL here. So all I need to do here, and this is where I think I'm going to break things. I'm just going to take what he gave me before, go back into our base, and we'll chop it from the URL there, and I will paste this in. And when I save, I think it's going to, yes, it's going to fail on me because it's, again, a bit of code in there that it doesn't understand. But no problem. All we do is I'll just get
start again. Okay.
Start again and put S11, my short weight, in there, serve it up. And what we should see here, yes, it's all running again, is that if I go, I inspect the source code here now. I think I'll do it this way. No, I can't come out. It's, no, I'll do it a different way. I should come out here. I'm trying to keep these together, as you know, because I'm managing the. I will inspect on this, and if we go over to our about now, we should. No, I'm on the home page, so that's why. Now it's added in dynamically the comment page and the active, so I could do some styling on that if I wanted to, and it's going to be, it's going to improve the accessibility with that. So there we are.
Nice.
Yeah. One more thing, shall I just throw in?
Sure.
Just so you can get an idea of the blog post stuff. So in WordPress terms, we're used to the loop, aren't we? Which is we'll loop through posts on this one. Well, Eleventy has something called collections, which is the same thing, which uses tags. So you can call those tags posts or something else. So just to emulate that, I'm just going to add in this because we'll need this so I can round up. I'm going to put in another folder here called events, where I've created some Markdown files already over here. And I'm going to also just bring in some other stuff. I'm going to bring in an events Nunjucks file in here. And also while I'm at it, I'll just put in some of the other things like a contact one. Just prepared. And anything else? Yes, I'll just put in my breakfast.
You're going to put in your breakfast. Okay.
I'm going to put in my breakfast link,
right,
which we'll see down here. Okay, so let's talk about actually, no, this reminds me, this is something to watch out for. I put in the breakfast, so now we should, in theory, all of these were for that page that I created. But, oops, no, it's not working. So I've put it in this, carrying the HTML. And this is an interesting feature. I put this in on purpose. I didn't create it because I just wanted to remind myself to say how Eleventy works. So just bear with me a second here. If we go down this, no, not there. I want to go into, apologies. There's nothing wrong with that actual file. What there is wrong with is my index. I need to make a change with this one. Because what I'm doing is I'm referencing, as I would do with the static, the breakfast HTML. So if I go down here, we will see the sidelines on there.
There was an HTML.
Yeah, there we are.
Yeah,
there we are. So what I need to do to make this work, I'll just do it on the one. I just go back. Pick the right one to change. No, just going to change one of these. Which one is it? Not that one. All of them need to be changed. It must have been this one that I changed. Oops, no, because I haven't saved it.
I was going to say, did you save? I didn't see that little updating in the terminal. Try again. Nope, not that one.
Let me just go down and
it
change
like
any
it was
of the other ones.
I'll do them all. Make them all breakfast.
Yeah.
Why not?
This is taking up a lot of time to just explain the main thing that I wanted to say with this one. This should be another one up there.
There's one. That's the first. That might be the first one. Don't know.
I put them all to the same place. So
okay. So now hopefully we've cracked it. Okay. Go back. Refresh. Oh, save, David. I don't know if you saved.
I did save actually.
Did you? Okay. Didn't see that.
No, we're not working. Interesting. It should be working now. Put it on my index here. Oh, we are. It just needed a bit of encouragement. It was obviously browser caching was messing things
Okay.
up. So there we are. So we are connected. The reason why I left this, it's a long way of saying something which is pretty simple, is that what you need to be aware of when you put in new pages in, Eleventy creates this formula here. So you have pretty URLs. So basically it creates this folder called breakfast and then an index file within that.
Oh, I see. So you reference breakfast and then it finds the index inside of it.
Correct. Yes.
Got it.
So it's quite an important thing to know. I think,
Yeah.
you know, when I've made static any WordPress site, then it takes that format anyway. So it's a fairly standard thing. Okay. So that's that. Let's just talk about what I was really meant to be talking about, which was my events now. So what we'll see here, we should do, is I've got some events. Yay. You've got a cheese and wine do here.
Oh, gosh, I forgot about that. It's on the 12th of March, if I'm reading.
Yeah, I think you missed it, but yeah. So
only 25. This hasn't happened yet.
So as I was mentioning before, we can make any of our main pages, which I've done with my events page here and a Nunjucks file over here. Again, I can put the Front Matter stuff in that I want. So, you know, I'm kind of putting that stuff in here. And this is where we can reference stuff, which is in the individual posts Front Matter into here to create this. So you can't see it very well unless I move out a little bit here. But this is a very, in simple terms, is that I'm, again, using this Nunjucks here, I'm saying for the events in the collection of events, show these in reverse order to the time they were created. Right. And so this is kind of the loop.
Like a loop.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then what I can do is, this is a URL, so the event URL, and then other things with data, title
date, excerpt. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I just go into any of the events here, let's just take this one here. I've created these things. So, I mean, I've made an excerpt because it's like WordPress, which outputs the stuff here because I've called it. Some things might just use the same description that you use for your SEO. So you could double up, you know, this description could be used here and could be used for your SEO. One thing I will say here, because this is just a basic thing, is that I've manually put in event date. If I put in date here, which you can see over here, it's something which will pick up straight away on, but you need to format it in a special way.
Okay, right.
Yes, you have to get this. So I've created something called event, so I could actually, you know, so if an event's going over a month, I can say from to something else on there.
Okay.
So that's it. Yeah,
Good job, David.
Can I recap?
Yep.
That's the difficult bit. Can I just show you something else? This is going to be a long one. Okay. I'll quickly go over. So in here, I've got some things to recap on, but I just wanted to show you that you can kind of connect this up to CMS on this one. So let me just go over things that I mentioned, that we've got lots of different languages that we could use here. Something I didn't mention here, you might just be able to see it on this one, is that we can mix in HTML and Markdown in the same file. So what I've done is, because the CSS is there to support it, the same with those grid lines where I can have things to come out. So with this, where I wanted some styling on the header, then I write the HTML for header 1 and write the image as that. And I can put pop out class on it, so it pops out above this. And then the rest of it I can write in Markdown, which I think is pretty handy. I mentioned that we can easily minify. There is also a sort of plugin or a part of version 3 of Eleventy, which allows you to kind of optimize and resize and change the format, even of your image, so it'll look out for the smallest version of it. And now,
Nice. Okay.
I haven't done that. This is something we could save it for next time. Let's do it now. We can use something like Decap. I'm going to just bring that up over here for my lead, which used to be part of Netlify. It used to be called Netlify CMS. So what we can do with this thing is, with a couple of basically one folder called admin and a couple of files, one with a sort of index file for the admin page. And by setting up the Front Matter to correspond with this CMS, you can create a CMS on that. Shall I show you this in action? Because I actually did it. What I'm going to do, just to make this a bit easier, because I think it played up before. Now, hopefully, will it remember? Oh, yes. no. Let me find the URL for this. It isn't done on this particular site, but I did it earlier. And this is, again, thanks to quite a good tutorial by Kevin Powell.
Okay.
Where he runs through the whole process of creating something with Eleventy. It's years out of date again, so it doesn't work out of the box if you just do it. But I was able to just, with the documentation, be able to catch things on there, just change these as they were. Sorry, let me just bear with me. CMS, I think it was called CMS. I've lost the URL.
Well, you've only got 5 there, so on the screen there might be. If you keep typing, it might give you a.
No, I'm sure I've saved it. Here we go.
Good.
What I called there we are. There we are. I'll put it on Netlify on there. So there's a my little demo thing that I put over here, and some articles over here. So if I just go in and change this to admin, and it's quite cool. I mean, it's not finished off. I go in here. Again, this is just 2 files to set this up. I can use this free CMS, and let me just put my password in and enter, and we'll log in. And
wow.
yeah, exactly. Now it looks pretty awful here because you can actually style this so it mimics what you're outputting to. You can just get rid of this, but essentially all you're doing with that front matter that we saw, what the labels we give it in this file to make this connect up, we just have to connect these two together. We just say what we've called title is the title here, what we've called description is in here.
Yeah.
And then we can go in and just create a new article on this one, a new blog post on here. And it supports rich text that we could put in Markdown over here. So we could do that. I don't know if you want me to just show you how that might.
Yeah, just whack something out quickly, a bit of lorem, I guess.
Let's just I was doing this earlier, so just copied and pasted there. Let's pretend it's the other one.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll make you the author, which on that site is actually outputted. And the date is actually working on this one. So we'll put the date as now, and anything else, I think I'll ignore the description for the moment, and we'll put in an image. And you've got a sort of media library, so you can put
Yeah.
So I've got a food one in here, so I'll choose the selected, and I'll go to Markdown, and I'll just use that same thing that I used before. MDL was, oh no, M I need.
Yeah.
And this should, if we look at the eye there, we should see we've got the same over here. It looks ugly on it. We'll publish. And should we publish now? Let's publish now.
Oh, you gotta write something in there. Never mind.
Yeah.
Just something quick.
Yeah. Something.
The image version.
Yeah.
You need the
food.
There you go.
Hopefully we could now
be
able to do that. So it's got that baked in. So all our fields need to be. Yeah, entry saved. So hopefully, but this will take a few minutes here. But if we just go, I'll open it up into a new tab over here. I would say it takes about 3 to 4 minutes to bring this in, but we should see. But while we're waiting for that to happen, I'll just put this aside and just quickly mention something else, which I think is quite useful. I put it in my notes. There is a nice tool, which I haven't set up, obviously, here. But there is something called Front Matter CMS, and it's basically an extension for VS Code. And you can see already that it's in effect. If I just remove this here, we can see here that I've got the ability over here to bold something if I want, and use italics and stuff, and add in images if it's done. And it's quite cool because if I initiate the project here, we just wait for this. I mean, obviously it integrates much nicer. And if I add any fields that are missing, what we'll see, I'm running out of space here, is that we can start to change our front matter with a UI that's over here, where we can bring all of the information. And it does another thing, which I think is quite handy. So if I was to just sort of prompts me, because otherwise you wouldn't know. So if I put in lots of junk here, it tells me that I've reached what should be my maximum. So it's quite nice. Yeah. So it's a nice little cool thing to add in. Let's just go back and see if we've published our post on here. So we're there in the blog. Let's see if you are. Let's do that again.
Yay! Nice and
Nice
tweet to
and
Warmers.
warmers.
There
You
you
were
go.
there with your posts. So yeah, I think taking up enough of your time. I hope that was useful.
That really was useful. That was absolutely fascinating. I'm just going to remove your screen so that we're back to our normal
Okay.
layout. Yeah, that all made sense. I understood all of the processes. I think it's the kind of thing that I would have to do. I'd be pausing. I'd be watching the video on one screen, pausing, carrying out the step, pausing, carrying out the step. But that I think was really well explained. That was brilliant. Thank you, David. I
Oh,
now
good.
understand the principle of Eleventy.
So we'll come back and we'll just finish this off because we haven't talked about it from the perspective, because that's quite, I mean, I'm not a developer, but this is quite developer-y stuff. And I think we'll just have a quick look at how, as you mentioned at the beginning, how we can use starter sites or even use it as potentially as a static front end for WordPress site if you like to work in that environment.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so we'll end this one. We'll call this one. We'll say that's a wrap. But we'll be back really soon with the follow-up that David just mentioned. So, all right. Thank you, David. That was really, really, really interesting. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Cheers. Bye.